thought I would take you guys on a journey of these past several years of what I have done with business and how far I've come, but how it's really changed and doing this thing that I love that brings me fulfillment and hopefully making some sort of impact in the world. So my favorite and best priority has been being a stay-at-home mom, and that has been my main job, and I've been so grateful to have that opportunity, and I really do feel blessed to mainly have that and that my husband can work, but then I have been able to make some money on the side through the years. My very first job being a stay-at-home mom, though, has been teaching violin lessons, and I taught violin lessons on and off for about 8 years. Just in between babies, I had to take breaks. But I started that even before I had kids. My husband and I were just newly married and in college, and that was one way to make some money on this side. And it was such a blessing to teach little kids. I love playing the violin. I was in the American Forest Symphony for almost 10 years, and I want to go back and do more of that. But since I've been doing business, I haven't been doing as much violin. And it was really fun to teach, and I really loved seeing the kids grow, but I found that I wanted to have more camaraderie with the parents and it didn't light my soul on fire. So I realized it wasn't something that I wanted to do in the long run anymore. I thought that would just be what I would do. And the main thing that had happened too is I had finally had my third, and I was starting to feel the huge pressures of being a mom with 3 young kids, and I had severe depression. I've always had postpartum depression after each one. But one huge catalyst that happened was we went on a trip to the Northwest to go visit our families. Both of our families live up that direction. And this family trip was so exhausting. It was the hardest trip I've ever been on, in the sense that I'm having to nurse my baby. I'm reaching back to the sea every other, minute, and we're going in between different activities, and that whole trip left me so exhausted, and I came home and I was so depressed, so exhausted. I got mastitis, all stress-induced, and I just realized something has to change. I don't feel like me. I am so stressed. So that trip forever changed me. I realized I'm going to make myself haggard by the end of my life if I don't put myself first in some way and really take care of me. And it was a huge journey I started back in, I think that was 2019, started that journey. And within that journey, I tried a lot of different things, but I realized I'm going to start my own business. I am going to go back to do some school, and I felt that I wanted to become a coach. I had heard about coaching. Jody Moore had started to become popular. I'd also had a deep love for health, and I'd always worked out, always tried to eat healthy to my detriment, which I'll talk about later. But that was what I decided I wanted to do. So I went to the Health Coach Institute, and I got my certification in both health and life coaching because I knew it was so important to have both. And I love life coaching, but I also wanted to do the health and help women in that way. And I started my business. And that business, my very first business, was helping women lose weight and get healthier. And I had done the same for myself. I had lost quite a bit of weight. I'd gotten really healthy. I was waking up at 5 a.m. I was working an hour a day. I was eating really, really picky. And I had some success in the sense that I helped some women. And I'm so glad I had that opportunity. But I had known in my heart something was wrong. And I was sick. And I started to fade out the business just a bit because I was starting to have very severe depression, and I was starting to have suicidal thoughts, and I was orthorexic, and that means to be so in control of what you eat that it takes over your life. And I was having panic attacks, and I found myself in the psych ward in the summer of 2020. So I went to the psych ward, and they helped me with my medicine, and I had gotten some more help in some therapy. And I think just my whole life was coming down to this year. And of course, 2020 was really hard on all of us. And just trying to deal with my childhood traumas that I've gone through and all those negative patterns and thoughts that I've had in my brain, trying to get better with my own marriage. We had a pretty rough time in our marriage during that time, and I compared myself a lot to him. And I could not get better, though. No matter what I was doing, it was not getting better. And I was still just as orthorexic and having those eating disorders. And I even ramped it up so much that I became raw vegan, and I was doing juice cleanses, trying to heal myself and that's not going to do it. The only thing that heals you is Christ. And I had to go to a rehab in October of 2020, and I was away from my family for a whole month. That rehab was my Gethsemane, and it was the hardest times that I had ever experienced, and it was really dark, and I had some really hard times there, trying to get through my brain and getting out of those suicidal thoughts. And I was just there mainly for that, just that side of it all, not even for my eating disorders, because I had to get out of that survival mode. So I had finally gotten out, and I was feeling a lot better, and definitely got some help. I was feeling a lot better, and I could feel that Christ had healed me in a lot of ways, and I felt that power. However, the beginning of 2021 started, and I was still feeling some depression, and I knew I was just wanting to go back to knowing how to control my body again. And I realized I had not really helped and healed that side with my body, and really tackled those eating disorders that I had. And now that I was in a better state, I can finally do that. And so I went to the Center for Change in Orem, Utah, and I did an outpatient program there. And I definitely was only in and out of there in 2 months because I had already done a lot of mental work before, and I was so grateful. And I had found intuitive eating, and I was so ready to do that as my new business once I had finally gotten all better. So I started my business up again. I'd taken a whole year off going through that mental health crisis and getting myself better, and I was so excited to share my message and just do some good. And I wanted to teach people about intuitive eating because it helped me so much, and I of course loved all the self-help part of it too. That's really what it's all about. But I always thought I needed to just keep to the health side of it all. But I loved it. It was fun for a while, and I got a lot of success from that. And people were receptive and really needed that message. So I was really grateful. So I had created a course. I had created a workbook. I was really figuring out the tech with my job, and I had clients, but it was just a few months ago that it just didn't feel right anymore. It felt like I needed to switch, and we change as beings, and that's okay. And I had to embrace that. And really my first love is life coaching, and just, I wanted to do counseling back in the day too. And I went to school, and I went to BYU, and thought I would someday go back and get my master's. But I just knew I needed to probably pivot to this side of coaching. So after some self-reflection and taking some time to be still, I figured out what I wanted to do now, and to still coach and to still get that message out there, and definitely having more of the mental health focus, and to help people have a stronger sense of self, women in particular, obviously, but to then be able to connect better with others once they have done that. And I want to create community in a place that people can land here softly and feel that they belong, and be able to teach some of these principles of our mindset work that we can work on, that I have gone through myself, and definitely having Christ in the mix of that. So thanks for being on this journey with me. It's been kind of fun, and I appreciate you listening.